3 school board meeting at 6:00 p.m. Ms. Marsan, would you please take roll?
Mrs. Barker,
Here.
Mrs. Bell,
Here.
Mr. Kuschert,
Here.
Mr. Lackner,
Here.
Mrs. McCabe,
Here.
Mr. McNally,
Here.
and Mrs. Fairgrave.
Here, please stand for the pledge. Okay, before we move into citizen comments, I would just like to wish everyone on the board and in the audience, our community of citizens, school community, a happy new year. We're excited to be back. And with that, we do have one citizen comment. So Mrs. McCabe, would you please read the notice?
During the public comment period, members of the public body who wish to speak are asked to first state their name and community in which they reside. Each individual will have up to 3 minutes to address the board on a topic of their choosing. We ask all individuals who address the board to do so with respect and civility toward others. Please note that personnel matters are sensitive and confidential. We also want to inform our speakers that all regular, special, and committee meetings are live streamed and available for viewing at any time on the district's YouTube channel. While the board will not respond to today's public comment during the meeting, we are committed to listening to you to help support our work for the district and on behalf of our students, staff, families, and community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McCabe. And our citizen wishing to speak, Sam Ledoux.
Have in the district or coming through the district. I'm here to talk about my son at Redling Middle School. I'm on a 2.5-year journey, just trying to get transportation to and from home and school. We're a divorced family. Mom's house and dad's house both live in district boundaries, in Redling boundaries, and qualify for transportation. But District 303 refuses to accommodate that. I've been given numerous excuses. The first was COVID restrictions. Those have since been lifted. Then I was told that we couldn't possibly accommodate all of the requests for this specific accommodation. So I FOIA'd that, not just the requests for this year, not just the requests for the last few years, but the requests for this specific accommodation over the last 7 years to give us a nice fair trend line that would account for any blips for COVID. And what you shared with me were four requests for this over the last 7 years. So that's no longer a valid excuse. The most recent excuse you were quoted as saying we can't guarantee the safety of our kids that would have one bus to go to mom's and one bus to go to dad's. So I ask if you're implying that our D303 community is less safe than the community of Batavia 101, Geneva 304, Burlington 301, Algonquin 300, Elgin U46, because they all accommodate this request now, and they always have. Paul, when you were hired, you were touted as a visionary. I'm not even asking you to tap into that. I'm simply asking you to tap into the equality and leadership that's required and demanded by the title of superintendent and role of educator to provide equitable transportation to all of our kids, even the 4 of us that have requested it over the last 7 years. I understand that policy protects you from looking me in my eye and responding to this and being accountable for that here in public, but it doesn't protect you from responding to my emails, phone calls, or inviting me in for a chat. So again, my name is Sam Ledoux. My contact information is on the paper I had to fill out in order to stand up here tonight and get your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we'll move to number 3, which is reports to the board, and we'll start off with superintendent update.
Thank you, Mrs. Fairgrieve. Tonight, we're very fortunate to have with us members of the Anderson Elementary staff, and we're going to start off with introducing Nate Jarrett, the principal of Anderson, as he welcomes 2 amazing educators and really talk about what they've been doing. Mr. Jarrett.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, board members and District 303 admin and community. My name is Nate Jarrett, the principal at Anderson, and a wise mentor once told me, when you're surrounded by great people, man, just get out of their way and encourage them and cheer them on and celebrate them and brag when it is appropriate. And tonight is the time to do that, to celebrate and brag 2 amazing staff members that I get to see bring joy and learning and passion to our LRC every day and our school community. And those would be Melissa Majeski, our LRC director, and Leslie Gustafson, our LRC assistant. So I'm going to have them come up and join me. And they are, they have a passion for what we do in the district, what we do at Anderson, of tapping into that core spark of a child's learning, specifically through the love of literature and books. So let's get more of them. And those books often cost money. So let's get more money. And I'll let them tell the story and how this all happened. And we get to sit back. I just get to sit back and watch it happen. So I just want to sincerely thank both of them for their vision and passion. I did nothing about it. I didn't even know about it until they told me they won all this money. So I'm like, sweet. So I'm just so proud of them. And so I'll turn it over to them.
Hello, I'm Melissa Majeski, and I'm the LRC director at Anderson. I came across this grant just by receiving some junk email and thought, oh, this is interesting. There's a chance to win $5,000 for books. And so I looked into it more. I saw the winner from last year. I'm like, that was a pretty good video, but I think we could beat that. And so I just kind of got thinking, and I've applied for grants and earned grants for our school. We're really trying to just put literacy in your face everywhere and get kids so excited about it. And so we've had that opportunity. But the neat thing about this grant is it wasn't just me typing on my computer, filling everything out, but it's getting the kids involved in it. So I started by saying, Leslie, are you on board with this? Like, whatever we need, are you willing to help me make it happen? And she did. So then we went to the students and we surveyed them, like, what should we do with our video? How could we be winners here? And so they gave the ideas, and then I looked to see who was interested in participating. So this was open to 4th and 5th grade students to share their ideas, to participate. And I got a few brave souls that were super excited to be in the video. The video had to be to the tune of Bruno Mars, You Can Count on Me. So it's a very kind of like inspirational song. And one of the students recommended using a green screen. So we decided we would act out the lyrics to the song and talk about how much books are there for us, how we can count on books. The students were very excited and very nervous to be filmed. There was one student who said that he has to move to a different country after this because he was so nervous about it being seen. But then once they actually saw the final product come together, I saw a pride in the students that was just so exciting. So Leslie here was just crucial to this process. Besides the students being in it, she's the one that helped me navigate how do we get everyone in here to do this? Because we had 30 to 40 students that participated in being filmed. Wow. And then just making it all happen. So it was a fun process. The video is very cheesy, but sometimes I told the kids cheesy is exactly what you need. So this was one of those moments where we got exactly what we needed and we won. So now the money just entered our account today. So I'm going to give $200 to each of the classroom teachers that they can use for their libraries, for book clubs, whatever the case may be. And that still leaves $1,200 for our LRC to add to our collection. So bring on the books.
That is fantastic. Absolutely love your passion for using your words, putting literacy in the face of every student the moment they walk into Anderson. And that's evident, especially when you walk into your LRC, the passion the two of you have been super fortunate to be able to walk with Nate and be in your LRC and see the amazing work that is occurring for our students across the board. So thank you for that passion and that drive and continuing to put literacy in front of our young people. Way to go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you are more than welcome to move on with your evening. You are not expected to stick around. We know you got a busy day tomorrow morning, welcoming back our students for their first day. Again, thank you. The next celebration, I should back up a little bit. One of the important things that I try to do in the superintendent report is try to highlight different aspects throughout our schools and throughout our district to give our board, our community, kind of an insight into the happenings of our schools on a day-to-day basis, and try to bring in different unique aspects. And this next one I think is really interesting and unique and super cool all at the same time. This is about East High School, the Engine Club. One, I didn't know there was an engine club. Two, this is a nationally ranked engine club. So the East Engine Challenge team had an outstanding performance at the Hot Rodders of Tomorrow National Championship. Does not get any cooler of a title than that. So this is the team that they're competing against other teams across the nation. And they ended up taking 17th place. But this team had to tear down and rebuild a 5.7 liter Chevy engine as quickly and accurately as possible 4 times over 2 days and take a comprehensive written test. I'm like, wow, I want to see that in action. It was just good stuff. But the reason I highlighted this is all the unique opportunities that our students have to be able to engage in different clubs and sports and music and arts. But this one highlights that every kid can be connected into our district in different and unique ways. So way to go, East Engine Challenge team out there. The other piece that I love to highlight are partnerships. I've said this on numerous occasions. Our district can do a lot of really amazing things by itself. We can do absolutely incredible things when we partner. And this is an instance of Davis and Richmond and the Christ Community Church and Kids Hope, who've recently supported our students by mentor visits that are scheduled every single week. We recognize the importance of adults and mentorship for our young people. And Christ Community Church and Kids Hope, they step into this space and really make sure that our kids are well taken care of. And then over break, Christ Community Church partnered with Colgate and Palmolive and delivered breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, and hygiene to a number of our young people and families who are struggling financially. This is the type of partnership that literally makes a difference in the lives of people on a day-to-day basis. So I want to continue highlighting all the different partnerships, the different pieces that are occurring within our district, at our schools, and throughout our community. So on those, I'm going to shift a little bit and hand it over to Board President, Mrs. Fairgrieve.
Yeah, one thing with the new year that I wanted to make sure, especially everyone on the board is aware of it, in addition, our community as well. There was recently, at the end of last week, I believe on Thursday, there was an amendment to the HB 5188 bill that moved out of committee and is progressing toward the legislator. IASB, which is the Illinois Association of School Boards, they are taking the stance of support of a no vote for that. And the amendment, what the amendment will do is it will mandate that all schools in Illinois teach age appropriate sex education beginning in kindergarten. As has been consistent with our board in past discussions at the table and even in actual vote at the table, our view was to keep this type of education optional or staying within a local control type situation. So with that said, wanted to explain where our board is sitting from that standpoint, and then also to encourage anyone that has an interest in this particular bill and the amendment and how it's progressing, that they should and can reach out to one of the senators for our respective D303 school community. And you can locate it at ilga.gov Senate. Our Illinois senators are Don DeWitt, Linda Holmes, and Karina Villa. So with that.
In addition, the District 303 is part of LUDA, the Large Unit District Association, which represents all the K-12 school districts within the state. And they too, as a member of that organization, have voiced their strong opposition to this, and exactly what Mrs. Fairgrieve said, local control, as well as the Illinois Administrator School Association has also voiced in to say no on this as well. Just as a data point, 70% of school districts have opted out of implementing for this school year. So just being a resounding, trying to make sure that our legislators know where actual school districts are standing on this issue and where different associations stand on this issue. Okay, gonna continue moving down my list. One of the items that had come before the board at a public comment was around the library selection criteria within our schools. And I want to make sure the community is really well aware that we do have a selection criteria process that is absolutely aligned with the National Library Associations, the American Library Association, and others. And it really does do a nice job of making sure that our librarians and staff are doing the due diligence of selecting the right material for our students at each of the different grade levels. You know, it has to be appropriate for the subject area, for the age, the ability level, the learning styles, incorporate accurate and authentic factual content from authoritative sources, earn favorable reviews and standard reviewing sources or favorable recommendations based on preview and examination of materials by professionals, exhibit a high degree of potential user appeal and interest, represent differing viewpoints, provide a global perspective, and promote diversity by including materials by authors and illustrators of all cultures and backgrounds, provide resources that reflect our own students' experiences while exposing them to alternative perspectives, include a variety of resources in physical and virtual formats, including print and non-print. Just a number of different criteria that our educators review and make sure that we're getting the right books into our libraries on a regular basis. So this is something that Dr. Igo and others within the learning teaching department continue to have different conversations about that selection and the work that we do there. Moving on, just a FYI, kindergarten registration will be virtual this year and begins January 30th. And the preschool lottery opens on January 11th. And more information on both of these can be found on our district website. But it's getting to be that time again. We've got to get the registration. We need to really make sure that we're getting that kindergarten and that preschool information in as quickly as possible. The next one, Jeremy, would you throw up the data dashboard? So board, shared this with you this weekend. Really excited about the data dashboard. The dashboard is meant to have an opportunity to monitor the health of D303 based on 9 important measurements. These are measurements from academics, operations, and a category we call belonging. I'm just going to do quick highlight of the different ones and why they're selected. 3rd grade reading on grade level. We know how important it is to be reading on grade level once you're in that 3rd grade area. We recognize that students are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school than proficient readers. In fact, 88% of students who are not proficient by the end of 3rd grade, were the students who dropped out of high school. It's critical that our on third grade reading is continuing to improve. In D303, based off of the iReady, 74% of our students. This is a celebration, but we need, we have to be focused on the next 26% who are not there yet. But we're making good progress there. The next two, they'll be reported out as grades are officially due in on Wednesday. But eighth graders on track to pass Algebra 1. Algebra is the gatekeeper. It is an important indicator of long-term academic success, especially in the areas, in the STEM areas. It truly is that gatekeeper to those fields, and getting access to higher levels of mathematics is critical for our young people, especially our young people who are looking to get into those fields in STEM. And early access also gives you, again, as I said, more opportunities for higher levels of mathematics, but it also socializes students to the understanding of the mathematics, which is another key concept that sometimes we forget about, is that rigorous courses. It's important that our kids are involved in those and participating in those courses. Ninth graders on track. Some of the most rigorous studies, including from the University of Chicago Consortium of School Reform, have found that students on track status to be a stronger predictor of high school graduation than their race, ethnicity, level of poverty, or test scores. Critically important of the health of our students. When students, a student cannot have an F on one of their core classes in their ninth grade year to be considered on track for graduation. A really important indicator of our health. The next pieces are around operations, budget to actuals, the financial health of our district, which is measured and demonstrated, shows strong health in where we're at. Our revenues are exceeding our expenditures, which is a really important aspect. As I'm looking over at our CFO, that everything is in line there. This next one, we really wanted to highlight around network uptime. Did you realize that our district connects on a daily basis, when students are with us, over 32,000 devices? When you think about the work that our network has to do, and that when students are with us during instructional time, this is not a third party goes down. This is our work internal, that we're currently at 100% uptime rate. So every time that's down, that's huge impact on the academics, because again, 32,000 devices, our young people are connected, our staff are connected, and when those are down, academics and student learning decreases. Facility access, very similar. Not sure if everybody understands that we have over 2.1 million square feet of facilities. And these are our school buildings. What we're measuring here is that we have access to each and every one of our classrooms each day, that they're not being shut down for whatever reasons, from mechanical or a failure in any other instance. Currently, we're at 99%. That means we've had a couple classrooms that needed to be shut down, be it for whatever maintenance issue that was occurring. But that's a high facility access rate. These next ones under belonging, attendance. Percent of students who have missed 10% or more of the school. We've had 84 school days so far. That means to be on this list, that students have missed 8.4 days or more. Currently, we're high. I'll be honest with you. We have some high numbers. Elementary, we're above 25%. Middle, we're hovering right below 25%. High school, kind of right there, right in that 25%. So 25% of our students, taken collectively, have missed 8 or more days. Now, we also recognize, coming out of COVID, if we're showing symptoms, parents aren't sending students, but we're also seeing a little bit of a phenomenon around when we have a day off on Monday. We're seeing higher student lack of attendance on that Friday, or around Thanksgiving. So we know even the best teachers, when our students are in front of our teachers, even our best teachers can't make the significant difference. Every time a student's not in our schools, there's a lost learning opportunity. That's why this one is so critical. The next one is our discipline referrals, incidents that disrupt the school day of learning environment by impacting others' sense of belonging and safety. For our middle and high school, we have over 400 referrals. And this is a large list of different aspects for why, but each one fall under the heading of impacting the learning environment. We're continuing to work on that because, again, similar to attendance, every time a teacher's attention is taken away from learning, it's another lost learning opportunity for students. And then this next one, a sense of belonging. Percentage positive student responses to an SEL survey around this sense of belonging and connection. You can see elementary is close to 75%, 62% at the elementary or middle and high school. All of these are at the 90th percentile or higher. However, we want each and every one of our students to be connected. We know the importance of being connected and having a sense of belonging and how important that is for all people, especially our young people. So this, we want to continue to grow as well. Overall, as I said, it's a snapshot that we will be bringing back each month. Not every one of these will be reported on each month. Like in February, we will have the eighth graders on track to pass algebra, and we'll have the ninth graders on track to graduate. The budget to actuals will be monthly. The network uptime will be monthly. The facility access attendance will also be monthly. So will the discipline referrals. The sense of belonging, that's a biannual survey that we'll take in. So we'll bring that back later in the spring. So that's our data dashboard and again, as I said in the opening, kind of the health of the organization from a large snapshot. Let me see if I've got anything else. Oh, our strategic plan and the equity reports. No reports for tonight. We'll have a much more in-depth report at the next meeting in both of those areas. Next on my list is Scott Harvey's going to join me for an update on our listen, learn, and return. Not sure board members had any questions on the 92 things that I just went through at a really quick pace. All right, Mr. Harvey. And is there any way to turn down the heat? The heat like just turned up like 60 degrees all of a sudden. You can smell it. I can burn it.
Questioning my sweater choice right now. Good evening, and I'm joined by Justin Attaway, our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services. We will be both going over a few things as part of our Listen, Learn, Return initiative. And you might recall, make sure the clicker's on. You may recall we came to you in December with a comprehensive report of the information that we had received. And now we're in that next step of providing you pieces of our action plan. There we go. So just a quick summary for you. We gathered our feedback through a series of in-person and online surveys over the course of the fall semester. We asked 3 overarching questions on challenges, opportunities for growth, and pride. And in December, we shared that we had identified 13 total themes from those survey responses, and 4 prominent themes that we really wanted to focus on initially. That being administration, some of the key words there would be decision-making, policy, the school calendar. Also on the staff side, talking about teachers and retention, pay and salary, student services, behavioral intervention, consequences, And on the operations side, safety and size of our facilities. We're going to discuss operations today. And then I wanted to, before I get into that, again, give you more of a snapshot of what we had provided in December. So that included that board report on the 12th. And then now our data analysis phase and the action steps that come starting with these prominent themes. And then our return sessions. So consider tonight's presentation a bit of a preview as to what those return community sessions will be, which it's part of the name, Listen, Learn, Return. We really want to come back to our community and share what we've learned and where we're going. So again, a bit of a visual snapshot of what we received in terms of those keywords for that one survey on challenges. Again, in-person and online feedback you see before you. So these keywords make up several thoughts and align with 13 total themes. And this is really just a nice snapshot as to what those keywords were and how it's really guides us in some of those specific themes. Another way to look at it is our charts from those 13 themes and the amount of thoughts or feedback we had over each of those questions. So you can see for the challenges question, operations was the highest in terms of that feedback. On the pride side, of course, staff comes to the top and so on and so forth. And that was the in-person data. And then our thought exchange or our online data, we had a majority of our responses on that challenges question related to our student services section. Operations, again, which we're going to be discussing tonight, was fourth on that list. So again, talking about operations tonight, because that will be what we will be discussing in our community return meetings, which actually will be on February 1st. And we're breaking it into 3 stages. And so I'm going to discuss a little bit more of the data that we received from our community in person and online. And then Justin here is going to tell us about steps 2 and 3 or stages 2 and 3 in terms of what we are currently doing or the plans that surround this particular theme of operations, and then the future plans that will guide us on the operations front. So stage 1 is our public feedback. And to give you an idea of the percentage of thoughts that were related to operations, we have it broken down in a couple of types of sessions for in-person, community, and staff, and then our online or thought exchange. So you can see the amount of thoughts that were related to that specific theme and the total thoughts. And over the course of all of those feedback opportunities, we're in the 14 to 15% range in terms of feedback that was operations specific. All of our themes here from the in-person data focus on the top survey groups. And a lot of our feedback came from our parents and our staff in terms of the grades represented. Majority of those individuals that responded in person were from the elementary or high school level or represented students at those levels. And then the age groups ranged from, again, the top survey groups, 35 all the way to 54. Moving to the online or thought exchange feedback, I wanted to give you a perspective of the rating system. Remember, thought exchange allowed people to share a thought and then rate the thoughts of others. And it was on a scale of 1 to 5. And this was an opportunity for people to share how much a particular thought resonated with them, 5 being the highest. So if we look at the top ratings groups under residents or staff, those were the top 2 in terms of average rating, 4.0 and 3.9 respectively. Under grades represented, you had elementary and middle as the top 2. And then age, our top group was the 25 to 34 group. So 4.1 was the average rating for that age group with relation to the operations theme. Oh no. May have to grab a paper copy from one of you here. Thank you. Well, this one I really wanted you to see because it was some sample thoughts that related. Oh, good. Let me, oh no.
Is that a member?
So I wanted to put before you some of the sample thoughts that we received in their own words from our community members that participated. If I can get to that slide.
I'm not seeing it.
All right. So I shared just 4, and keep in mind, this is 4 out of almost 300 particular thoughts for the operations theme. You have some in front of you. This will be available for people to view online as well if they want to look at them. And keep in mind that all thoughts and all data are on our website, district303.org. We have a listen, learn, return section where people can really dive into the data and see every thought if they so choose. So I put some on here related to in-person and then the online and thought exchange. Try it one more time. Nope. So what I wanted to just share with you is all thoughts are really important and they need to be top of mind for us as we really dig into what's really significant for people, what's emerging from their thoughts. And we need to take all of those into consideration when we're really analyzing what direction we need to go in from those action steps. So again, this is just a small sample size, 4 out of almost 300 in terms of the operations theme, but I wanted to put some in front of you. If you're looking, you'll see relationship to facility master plan. Justin's going to discuss that in a moment. Also on the thought exchange piece, you actually see some ratings next to those. So those are our top 2 thoughts in terms of the highest ratings. So those 2 talk about class sizes and also just the need for teachers and their value to our district. So now I'm going to go to the next slide. Do you need a copy? You got it in front of you. Great. So Justin's going to take us through stages 2 and 3 of our action steps.
So looking back at where we've been, in July 2021, the board received the master facility plan from WOLD as it was prepared by the Educational Facility Planning Committee. This committee's charge from the board was to help develop a comprehensive long-range facility master plan that would accommodate the district as far as enrollment, instruction programs, and support systems over the next 10 years. After that meeting and after that report was presented, administration continued to work with WOLD to review the findings. And in early 2022, we actually presented multiple construction scenarios. There were 4 scenarios for each school building with concept costs that included key needs and actions for each building. We also presented guiding principles to the board at the beginning of this school year. The Business Services Committee recommended 13 guiding principles from which the district will follow with regard to facility planning. Those principles fell into either standard operations or investments into the school district. And then following this presentation, the board and administration felt that we needed additional details before we can make some well-informed decisions that best serve the school district and community. So we ended up deciding to continue to work on the facility master plan, but we were going to table any significant decisions until sufficient data had been gathered to help develop a comprehensive plan rather than making decisions in isolation. Both the board and administration do continue to reference the Educational Facility Planning Committee's work and the recommendations in ongoing discussions that we have. The issues that were identified in that process and the resulting recommendations are definitely still relevant to the district. And they do continue to inform and influence the direction of the final plan as we move forward.
We can go to the next slide. Thank you.
So looking forward, Scott is going to talk in just a second about the return meetings. We did engage with RSP Associates to perform an enrollment and capacity study. They're looking at actually a very detailed process across our school buildings to assess how the district is utilizing its current buildings and where we think enrollment will be, including any developments that are going on within district boundaries, housing developments. We do expect that. I did talk with RSP at the end of last week, and as of right now, they are on track to present those findings to the board at the February 2023 Business Services Committee meeting. Once we get through the enrollment and capacity studies, much of this work is going to shift back onto the Business Services Committee as we start talking about the findings and what those mean for the district moving forward. That committee is going to do much of the heavy lifting throughout this process and then recommend back to the full board any next steps that are necessary to be taken. I do think it's important to note, though, that as we're going through this, although this is a long, detailed process, work hasn't stopped in the district. We're still taking care of our buildings. We're still doing the things that we need to do. The items that are on your screen right now are just a few of the items that we're working on right now with key card access, boiler replacement. We're looking at the pool plaster over at North. Those are scheduled to be completed this summer. And then the gym and cafeteria air conditioning, looking at summer 2024. So work across the district has not stopped. This is just a long process that we need to get through to make sure that we're really taking a holistic view of the entire district.
Right. Thank you. So as you see, we've got a lot of great feedback from our community. We've been putting a lot of work in on the operations front for some time, and there's still a lot of work to look forward to. And so part of that next step is those return meetings. It was really an emphasis of launching this community engagement plan when we came to you almost 6 months ago, I guess. And so we're now ready to have our first return meeting talking about the operations theme. So we'll touch a little bit in those meetings about what we discussed tonight. We'll also give individuals a chance to solicit questions in advance. And for those that can't attend, we're going to package a video recording of that session. So that will be on February 1st in the morning and in the evening, both here at the Haynes Center. And then we were only touching on operations tonight, but we recognize that there are so many other areas that we need to and are focused on. And certainly those prominent themes that I mentioned at the top, including operations, our administration, staff, student services, and we as a team will continue to look at those internally. We will have discussions internal before we're ready to make some more statements on an external capacity. One of those that we're really looking forward to is having some staff communication on the student services side, specifically on consequences, and really just looping them into that conversation, making sure they have buy-in. And there will be a lot of opportunities for those conversations internally, depending on the theme and the feedback that we've received. And so that's one that we're looking forward to doing, and then eventually bringing back to you to let you know where we're at and how we hope to move forward and present those action steps to the community. So with that, we will entertain any questions.
I have a question about the actual meeting when you return. The thought went through my mind that do you want to holding it before we get the enrollment and capacity, but it might pique people's interest, so they will listen to the board meeting when that report comes, but you won't have that report for that February 1st meeting. Will it be streamed?
We're planning on recording it so that we can provide a really polished product so people can, see in the presentation and also recognize the data points that we're trying to convey. So not a live stream, but a video is what we do anticipate providing after the meeting itself.
Okay. There's most likely people who won't be able to attend, but would be really interested.
Yeah, and spring is a busy time, so that's why we're limited on number of meetings, but we wanted to make that video capability an option for folks.
Thank you for the presentation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I do have one question.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe you covered this and I just, so you said that there are other themes. Clearly you mentioned that. Will there be more return sessions?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's covering other themes,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Okay, I figued you said that, but I wanted to be clear. So that, okay, awesome.
And while we know that there's still, exciting work to be done on the demographer study for the operations. We do feel like there's a lot that we can discuss with our community now on February 1st. We also recognize there's still some work that needs to be done on those other things before we can come back to the community. But certainly those return meetings will continue throughout the spring.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it and I appreciate the presentation from
You're
both of
welcome.
you.
I had one more question, more just logistical. So at one point, we did have the facility master plan as a standing agenda item. So once we hit a few of these milestones, specifically the demographic and building utilization study, will that be put back on as a standing agenda item? And do you say that business services and the board, or how will that work?
It will definitely be on at business services because
Okay.
that committee is going to be doing much of the work involving any facility master plan. I'll leave it to Dr. Gordon to talk about the board, but that will definitely be on the business services agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Nicely done, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving to section 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 4A through 4L?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kuschert for the first and Ms. Bell for the second. Does anyone want to pull something from the consent agenda?
I don't want to pull anything. I just, did we get the board member reports on committee meetings?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Let's finish this and
Okay,
then
I
we'll
just wanted to
circle
make
back.
sure we didn't.
Nope,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so is there any discussion related to the consent agenda? Okay, Ms. Marsan, would you please take roll?
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Kuschert,
Yes.
Mr. Lackner,
Yes.
Mrs. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. McNally,
Yes.
Mrs. Barker,
Yes.
and Mrs. Fairgrave.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. And then before we move on to section 5 of the agenda, let's circle back to board member reports on committee meetings. We'll start with learning and teaching.
We did not meet in December.
Okay. I do not believe business services met in December.
Business
either.
services did not meet in
No.
December.
And I don't think that policy. Do you
Good
have
thing
an
I brought it
update?
up.
Okay. All right. Appreciate though the input. We want to make sure that's addressed. So we do not have any committee meeting updates. Moving to section 5, which is for information. So there are 4, again, standing items that are in your packet for informational purposes. So the D303 and Mid-Valley financial reports, Freedom of Information Act requests, and then district enrollment. Moving to the next section 6, which is new business. Does any board member have any new business that they would like to raise? Okay. Next, do we have any? We'll check to see if we have any citizen comments. Okay, we do not have any additional citizen comments at this time. Next, do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purposes of 1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. And finally, 3, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. McCabe for the first and Mr. McNally for the second. Ms. Marsan, would you please take a roll call vote?
Mr. Kuschert,
Yes.
Mr. Lackner,
Yes.
Mrs. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. McNally,
Yes.
Mrs. Barker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Fairgrave.
Yes, motion passes to adjourn to closed session 7-0. And it is at 6:51 PM.